Welcome back to the Brandmerry channel, where we are sharing personal branding and advanced marketing strategies to help you improve your revenue and impact. I'm Michelle Knight, founder and CEO of Brandmerry.com, and in today's video, I want to share with you 3 categories for your story content in business. When I founded my business way back in 2016, I struggled for a really long time to figure out who I was, the impact that I wanted to make, how I wanted to support my clients, and ultimately created a brand that wasn't a true representation of me and my personality. And after a lot of discovery work and a lot of ups and downs, having a website, scrapping the website, trying to sign clients, not being able to sign clients, literally all the things, I got back to my story and I started doing story work around who I was and the impact and mission that I wanted to carry out into the world. And that is what has led to the brand that you see today. Almost instantly from doing that work and making some small changes with my messaging and my copy and incorporating more storytelling into my actual content, I started to sign clients and have sustainably grown my business consistently as well over the past 4, almost 5 years of starting my business. And I really believe that storytelling is the secret weapon. If you were to say there was a secret weapon to being a business owner, I truly believe that it is storytelling, especially if you have a personal brand, because this is how we build connection and we build trust, which, as we all know, is why people buy, invest, and continue coming back time after time, year after year, investing over and over in courses and programs and referring their friends and family. And so storytelling is very important, and I love incorporating it not only in the branding process, but also in the marketing process. And that's what we are really going to talk about today. Many people create their brand story and then they think they're done. They don't think about storytelling anymore in their content, in their videos, in their blogs, in their marketing. And if you're paying attention, I already shared a story with you in this video, and we've only been doing it for like 3 minutes. So storytelling and marketing is really powerful, and I want to share with you today 3 categories that you can kind of group your stories into and then recycle through as you share your content and your marketing in your business. And each of these 3 categories, as you will notice, will help with not only the client attraction process, but also moving your client, your potential client, through the buying process. Now, storytelling is, as we've already talked about, a very powerful tool. And storytelling, if you watched last week's video, really is about the effect that it has on your ideal customer's brain, the neural coupling, the dopamine, the connection that it creates. And as we know, this connection and ultimately trust is why people choose to invest. One of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar says, "If they like you, they'll listen. If they trust you, they'll do business with you. They'll ultimately buy from you." And that really is the key. And storytelling is one of the fastest ways to build trust with your community. However, people tend to think that storytelling has to be this long, drawn-out process, and that if you're going to share story, then the whole entire social media post or the whole entire email has to be a story, one great story. But that's not the case. One of the things that I teach is called micro stories. And I gave you an example of a micro story in this video where I shared how I started my business just, 5 years ago. And for the first 8 months, I really struggled to figure out who I was and what I wanted to offer. I painted that picture for you, ultimately sharing with you that once I sat down and got back in touch with my story, I scrapped my entire website, redid it, changed my messaging, started showing up, incorporating more story, and then signed my very first client and continued to sign clients to create a multiple 6-figure business over the past 5 years. That was just a tiny bit of story woven into a larger piece of content. And so when we're thinking about storytelling and when we're starting to dive into these 3 categories I'm going to share with you, I want you to remember that storytelling isn't this long drawn out process. It can be presented in very small micro pieces that really just kind of move the relationship along and build that know, like, and trust factor. All right, so let me share with you 3 must-have stories that you can group your content together in your marketing. The first one is the brand awareness story. Now, again, many of you probably have your brand story. This is like how your business came to be, your heroine's journey, however you want to call it, your founder's story, and that's on your About Me page. But you need to be sharing content in all of your marketing efforts and storytelling in each of those as well. So this first category is really focused on the brand awareness stage, attracting new people to your brand, which is key when it comes to marketing. In order to create a sustainable and profitable business, you got to make sure new people are finding you regularly. And these brand awareness stories are a great way to not only bring in your ideal customer, but then start building that trust right away, like almost right out of the gate. And so this type of story is really, really powerful and tends to gravitate a little bit more towards educational content. But again, it doesn't mean that we can't work storytelling into it. This video is a great example of a brand awareness story. I'm teaching you something. You probably clicked on this video because you wanted to hear about storytelling in business and specifically the 3 must-have categories. But of course, through this process, I've shared story, I've connected with you, and hopefully you'll stick around for more. So this category tends to focus on the educational component. Think of cold audiences, people who aren't already aware of your brand that might be seeing you for the first time. They're most likely searching for tips and tricks and tools, and you can support them in creating content around that. And then, of course, incorporating your authentic story into the process. So I've got some examples for you. One example could be you sharing your top 5 resources and why. And a great way to incorporate storytelling here is to not only share those resources that are going to benefit them, but also share how you came to find those resources and a need that might have been happening in your life or your business. Again, great opportunity for storytelling, and then ultimately giving them those resources as a key takeaway. Another one that you could share are 3 myths about something that happens in your industry. I love this one. This is one of my favorite categories to talk about. I like to talk about the 3 myths that happen in branding and marketing and repurposing and content creation. Those are categories that I specialize in, and I like to share, 3 things that I truly believe are misconceptions or myths or beliefs that people have that aren't in alignment with my brand and my values. And so this is a great opportunity to not only educate your audience, because everyone wants to know what myths or mistakes they might be making in their business or in their life, and then you can interweave story into that as well. So as you're sharing these 3 mistakes or myths, you could share that you made them, maybe, or when you first heard them, or why, how avoiding making this mistake ultimately helped you in your business. Again, another opportunity for storytelling. And finally, in this category, you could also share 3 lessons from inter-experience. This one's pretty much a no-brainer, right? Like if you have 3 lessons, it's a great opportunity to share the story aspect of that, what happened and how you learned those lessons. And people are always looking for other people's experiences and lessons learned that help them either avoid mistakes or really accelerate their growth or their progress based on what other people have experienced. So those are 3 examples that take more of an educational approach, but again, are perfect for sharing story. All right, let's move into the second category, which I like to call brand authority stories. All right, brand authority is kind of that next phase in the process of client onboarding. You think about a new client coming in, not knowing you. That's the whole brand awareness stage. Then we're really focused on positioning you as the expert so that they know that they should invest in whatever it is that you're selling or you're offering. And this is where brand authority comes into play. One of the key pieces with storytelling is making sure that you are positioning yourself as the authority or as the expert. Otherwise, people won't see why they should invest in you or how you're ultimately going to help guide them to their desire, to their pleasure point, to the finish line, whatever that might be for your ideal customer. So these stories are really, really important and can focus more on solving a specific problem as well as what I like to call an industry disrupt. So as we mentioned before about those myths in the brand awareness stage, this is another opportunity to go deeper and really share, why you do what you do in your business, the framework that you follow, how you support your clients, and why you're different from somebody else. So I'll give you a couple examples of these stories as well. Number one is to expose a lie or a truth about something in your industry. Maybe you're catching on here. I really like these stories because there are a lot of people talking about the same thing in every industry. It doesn't matter, what you're focused on. And so your consumer has a lot of choices. But they're going to gravitate to the people that resonate most with them, share the same values as them, as we'll talk about in the next category. And one of the ways to really kind of separate yourself from others is offering this industry disrupt. So if there's something that's happening in your industry that you believe is misleading people or isn't in alignment with your values or your core framework, you can share that. And again, a great opportunity to share story. So one of the things that I love to talk about is how content creation is actually a branding problem. If you struggle with content creation, the odds of you missing key pieces of your brand is incredibly high. Not knowing who you are, not knowing who you want to attract, not understanding your offer, not understanding the emotional connection. Those are all part of the branding process. So I love to share this industry disrupt because we often think that content creation is like a copywriting issue or an engagement issue, when really it could be a branding issue. So again, an opportunity to share more about why I have that belief and why I believe that this is something that is misleading to my ideal customer. A great opportunity for story. Another opportunity here is to share your brand story and your founder story. Everybody writes their brand story and then puts it on their About Me page and then they forget about it. But this is an opportunity for you to work that into your content, to share little pieces of it, little phases of it, to highlight very specific parts of your brand story, to highlight your mission as a way to, again, share with your ideal customer that you know what you're talking about and you've created this business to help solve this problem that they are ultimately experiencing. And that's a great way to position yourself as the guide and as the authority in their journey. And then finally, another way to build that brand authority is by sharing client stories and testimonials. The stories that we share in business are not just our stories. They are also the stories of our clients, of our community members. And by sharing these client stories, you clearly are showing your expertise and your authority and your knowledge on the area in which you are supporting your clients. So this is a great way to not only share that, but also, again, incorporate storytelling. All right, we've got our last category, and the last category is all about brand affinity. Now, brand affinity are the shared values between a brand and a consumer. This is that deep, deep stuff, right? This is that deep trust connection that many brands miss out on because they aren't sharing these key stories. And I don't want that to be the case for you. This is the area where client retention just lives and just radiates, because when you have brand affinity, you keep coming back for more. You keep, again, referring your friends and your family and the people who trust you. You buy courses and programs and move up to one-on-one coaching and so on, even though the investments get higher because of this strong brand affinity. And this is a beautiful opportunity for you to start building that deeper connection with your audience. And so some of the things that I love to share in this category are your brand values. Brand values are so important. And in 2021, they are going to be more important than ever. Sharing your brand values is very important. People have said, I said important like 10 times. People have said that they will buy based on a brand's values, and they will also boycott or not buy because of those same values if they aren't in alignment with theirs. So one of the best things that you can do is openly share your brand values with your audience. Now, this doesn't mean I want you to just create a post and list all your brand values. That's incredibly boring. You could share a story about each of those values. Why are those valuable to you? Why are they values for your brand? Is there something that happened in your life? Share those through the art of storytelling. Another thing that you can do is share your mission. We did already talk about this in the brand authority section, but this is also something that can live in this area as well, kind of like a double. You can not only build brand authority, but brand affinity with your brand mission, sharing the real purpose behind why you started your business, how you want to make a difference in the world, the impact that you want to make, who you want to serve. That is a great thing to communicate to your audience. Get them on board with what is happening. And again, build that brand affinity. And then finally, you can also share some life lessons. So in the lesson section that I shared before, when we were talking more about brand awareness, those might be lessons within your industry. And those are absolutely amazing. As you can guess, they're very educational. What I'm talking about here are life lessons. This section of brand affinity is a great place to share those more personal stories and those mistakes that you've made just in your life and what that's taught you, how you've transformed or transitioned through your life. And one of the things I love sharing are these life lessons, things that you've learned just in your everyday life. Maybe they're not directly connected to what you offer, but they are connected to your brand because they're connected to your mission, to your values, and who you are as a person. And again, it's just another opportunity to form that deeper level of connection with your audience. So there you have it. There are 3 categories that you can start to put your brand stories into. I love creating these categories with my clients so that they always can just go back and cycle through and say, hey, I haven't shared a story on brand affinity in a while. Let me go grab something from that category. And one of the coolest places to organize all of this could be a spreadsheet, or if you're visual like me, you can use Trello to actually create these columns with brand affinity at the top, brand authority, brand awareness, and as you think of stories, you can add them in there and then schedule them in your content for the next 30, 60, or 90 days. There you have it, 3 categories that you can now use to organize your brand stories. Remember, it goes much, much bigger than just how did you found your brand. These stories need to be incorporated into your content on a regular basis if you not only want to build this connection with your audience, but also have your audience remember your stuff. Remember, when you incorporate storytelling into your content is 22 times more likely to be remembered by your ideal customer, by your audience. So it's very, very important. I believe storytelling is the key foundation of a successful business. And if you're interested in learning more about storytelling and branding and how they fit hand in hand, I've got a free masterclass that you can check out. You can go to brandmerry.com/brand masterclass and check out the Build a Better Brand method. It's a free class. It'll guide you through my branding process. It'll share with you 3 mistakes you might be making and ultimately set you up for having a strong brand foundation in which you can market and sell from, because that really is key. As always, thanks again for tuning in here on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss a future video. Give this video a like if you loved it, and go ahead and leave a comment. I love checking in and reading and responding to those and hearing your takeaways from this video. I'll be back with a new video next week. Until then, have an awesome time.